Hi, I'm Victoria, and I'm the owner of Daughter of Music LLC, a music company right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, we provide online and in-person music lessons for voice, piano, guitar, and drums, as well as performance, audition, and workshop opportunities, and entertainment legal services. Yes, we do it all. Thank you so much for tuning in to my podcast, Note to Note. If this is your first time tuning in, then right after this episode, I want you to check the previous episodes so you can learn more and be the best artist that you can be. Today's episode will be featured around radio royalties. So, as an artist, you just learned that your song was featured on one of the baddest radio stations in your city. Congratulations! But are you missing any money? Well, today I'm going to break down and help you understand exactly the amount of money that is owed to you based on your airplay from those particular radio stations. So if you do not understand, radio stations have a contractual relationship with the performing rights organizations, which are known as the PROs. They are CSAC, BMI, and ASCAP. So in general, the radio stations have issued a blanket license to those PROs. They issue out a financial compensation to them, and those PROs will distribute the monies amongst their songwriters and publishers. So when you hear your song on the radio, artists, you will receive only songwriter royalties. So what happens if you are the artist, but you did not provide a writing contribution to that record? Well, unfortunately, you will not receive any royalties or any monies from those radio stations. So if you recall, copywriting a song is issued in two parts. In order to copyright a song, you must complete the underlying composition, which reflects the songwriters and publishers, as well as the sound recording side, which are the label owners. Label owners, they own the master recordings. However, if the artist is not assigned to a label, then of course, naturally, the artist will own that. So that means, far as the radio stations, they do not pay any performance royalties to labels or the artists. Only songwriter royalties. Yes, radio stations do not pay performance royalties to artists and label owners. Only songwriters. Now, if we really look at the history of radio stations between the 1920s and the 1950s, that was considered the golden age of radio. Radio has always been one of the most popular distributors that allowed us to enjoy things such as comedies, dramas, and of course, music. When there was a new artist, we went straight to the radio. When there was a new single, we went straight to the radio, and they still have a wonderful impact on all of our communities. However, with a lot of the digital service providers, such as the iHeartMedia, Spotify, Apple, Tidal, we don't necessarily have to go to the radio to listen to new artists or new music. We can go and listen in the convenience of our own home, in our own cars, at our own jobs, in workplaces, wherever we want. And that is pretty exciting as well. But if we take it a step further, radio stations must do a better job in order to protect the artists. Last year, it was an economic loss of all artists at least of $2 million. That means $2 million were owed to artists from airplay of the radio stations. Let's take it a step further. Did you know that other countries do not pay American artists for their radio play? No. And do not fret, United States is not only one of those countries that do not pay artists. It is. You have North Korea, you have Iran, China, So there are other countries that do not pay, but we must take it as a responsibility of ours, being a citizen like myself, a United States. We must take it a step further to protect the artists. And that is in case of the American Music Fairness Act. If you're asking, well, what is that? The American Music Fairness Act was a new bill implemented in 2021 that demanded all AM and FM stations to pay all artists, all labor owners, not only just on the songwriting side, but as well as the performance side. So if you did not include a writing contribution to that record, the American Music Fairness Act said, hey, we want to still provide that artist and pay that artist for performance royalties. Now, of course, radio stations all across the world, a lot of them do not receive the same amount of money annually. And that is true. We have a lot more smaller independent radio stations, college radio stations, all of that is really trying to spread music and definitely connect our communities. And that is a wonderful goal to have. But through the American Music Fairness Act, they're saying, hey, we will include a payment breakdown for those particular stations. So depending on how much money you make will depend on the amount of fee that you have to pay. So for an example, if you make $1 million, your fee may only be $5,000 a year. If you make, maybe $100,000, your fee may only be $500. So they will provide a payment breakdown so that those radio stations will not be in financial jeopardy. So what's going on? What is taking so long, radio stations? I support radio stations. I know artists do because we are allowed to allow our music to be heard and listened to and to connect all of our communities. But it is very important that radio stations understand that the songwriter royalties, that is not enough. You must pay artists performance and songwriter royalties. So just as a recap, artists, I want you to understand that just because your song is played on the radio, that does not mean that you're receiving all the composition that is dutifully owed to you. You put in the time and you put in the work. So it's very important that we stand together as artists, continue to get together with our lawmakers to make sure they are doing right by us, to make sure all of our rights are protected. And this is not the first time that we're doing this. Even recently with the Recording Academy, they host the Grammys on the Hill and Advocacy Day, in which they discuss with the lawmakers 4 important bills. One of those bills were stating that the lyrics should not be used in copyright lawsuits, which is very, very important. And the second one being the discussion of the American Music Fairness Act, which was implemented in 2021 and passed by our lawmakers. So we're still waiting on what is the next step to get all of the radio stations to pay what? Performance royalties and songwriter royalties. So if your song is played on the radio, congratulations. Continue to support those radio stations. But let's gather together to look at the things that work for us and doesn't work for us. And I know for sure that if you put in the time and effort, you want to make sure that you receive all the compensation that is owed for you. So if you have any questions or inquiries of how to take the next step of understanding radio royalties, then feel free to leave a comment below or email me at notetonotepodcast@gmail.com. I can provide you with a clear breakdown of the American Music Fairness Act, and I will also include the link below. Thank you so much for tuning in to my podcast, Note to Note on Radio Royalties. If you like what you've heard today, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Daughter of Music LLC. I can also be found on Facebook and Instagram, Daughter of Music LLC. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.